DEI initiatives destroy morale, decrease recruitment, and potentially violate federal law. These initiatives spread divisive and exclusive ideologies in our federal government workplaces, and taxpayers are left footing the bill. For these reasons, I support the Dismantle DEI Act. This bill prohibits funding for such programs and creates a new Civil Rights Act protection against requiring individuals to participate in such programs.
So that is James Comer. So of course, everything he's saying there, everything he stands for is absolutely gross. His position there is America long ago conquered racism, if it ever really existed. And so we don't need any sort of programs designed to make sure that there's something like diversity or equality in these important government positions. And the added kind of gross thing he's doing there is he's putting it into the Civil Rights Act. In the Civil Rights Act, we're not going to allow people to consider these sorts of things when hiring. We will maintain the prior hiring status quo that for a very long time has allowed innate characteristics to give you a leg up. It's benefited men and white people for literally as long as America has been a thing and before. He's perfectly fine with that. Now, we're gonna push back on the program. Others were pushing back in that hearing, and perhaps the strongest backlash came from Representative Summer Lee. Here she is.
DEI programs, which honestly started the second the Civil Rights Act passed. Policies like affirmative action and diversity, equity, inclusion are the closest things we've had to the mythical bootstraps that some of my colleagues insist historically and currently harmed communities need to pick themselves up by. After centuries of efforts to keep us out of schools and universities, from jobs and elected office, Republicans targeting these policies are no accident. Why do predominantly conservative white men believe that the success of a black person or the opportunity or access of a black person is an existential threat to them?
Yeah, and so I don't know why that's a thing that drives them. Obviously, there's a couple of different potential explanations. One is that there is something that is actually true to them, that they think it's unfair, that they think it's a threat. It's entirely possible that some or all believe that. It also entirely could be that it's a convenient thing to talk about. In the same way that Nancy Mace is off there hyper-focusing obsessively on trans people, and we'll talk about that later on the show, the Republicans are always looking for something, particularly when they're in power, to distract from the fact that they're not going to deliver for their constituents. And hyper-focusing on these sorts of things rather than addressing the actual structural inequalities in our system is certainly convenient and fills a lot of time. That said, I want to give you a little bit more of a summary on this topic.
Republicans are trying to bastardize the term DEI to be a slur. When Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was up for confirmation and when Vice President Harris was added to the ticket, they called them DEI hires. They want you to believe that a Harvard graduate with over 20 years of experience, who happens to be a black woman, is not qualified, but a Fox News personality is qualified to run the Department of Defense, and the WWE executive is qualified to run the Department of Education. Let's be real. There is an attempt to create a direct correlation between our race, being a black person, and our qualifications. So much as to say that there is no way to be a black woman. There is no resume that a black person could have that would qualify them unless that black person is a Republican. And there is a quota there.
I think those are devastating points, literally every single one of those. Donald Trump's appointments to these positions have implied that he does believe in a form of DEI, but for people with like a questionable history of sex pest behavior, and God only knows what's going on with Linda McMahon. Maybe we'll cover that tomorrow on the show, but great points. And yeah, the argument, like you can say, I don't want Harris to be president, or you could say all of those things. But when they throw out well, she's obviously a dummy, and she's obviously unqualified, I think they're revealing everything about what this talk about qualifications is actually about. Viviana, what do you think?
This is well, first of all, Summer Lee. Wow, what did the Beatniks do? I mean, she was amazing.
That was good, yeah.
Laying it down. But this is a tenet of libertarianism, figure it out on your own. We don't care. We're not going to make any special accommodations for anybody. Let's also make a note that DEI also includes Americans with disabilities. It's not just minorities. It's about getting access to people. The Supreme Court ruled that the regents of USC versus UCs in the state of California against Bakke, I believe, I forget how to say his name, that race would be considered. So obviously we have changes in the Supreme Court that may change, but let's not forget a Republican, a very prominent one, Nixon. He was the first one that developed a federal plan on minority business owners to help minorities in their business and their staff. He went on to sign the Rehabilitation Act that acknowledged disabled people and their access to and then Kennedy was the first president to use affirmative action in regards to equal employment opportunities. And we have Johnson, who required government contractors, which these people are very against, to have use affirmative action to expand opportunities for minorities in government contract work. So we have a legacy of presidents, both Democrats and Republicans, recognizing that this is important. Now, with the erasure of CRT, critical race theory, this has sort of been their plan. Like, we don't want to talk about, reparations for our ill behavior in the past. We want to erase that. We want to say that everybody's on equal ground, which we know is not the case. So it's part of the plan to erase opportunities and to continue to increase that chasm between the rich and the poor. That goes on with, the Department of Education, which we won't discuss today, but hopefully you get into it tomorrow. It's about erasing those opportunities for people who really need it. Frankly, they don't care. They don't care about those people.
Yeah, that's my concern. We are going to end with just a little bit more from that hearing. Summerlee did a great job, but here is Representative Jasmine Crockett.
You can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are gonna go and work. We are gonna steal your wives. We are gonna rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed.
Yeah, look, they're not going to be happy about that. A lot of people are going to freak out. Maybe people are freaking out in the comments right now, but she is indisputably true. There has never been any oppression of white men. And I know, sometimes, yes, ladies drink free. No, I get that. I get that you can point out something that seems unfair or whatever. That is not what oppression is made of. That is not systemic. That is not government based. That does not take place over the course of decades. That does not hold back an entire population. It is not designed to do so. She's right. She's just right. Any quick comment on that, Viviana?
Crockett is amazing. She's said it perfectly. But it's the same reason that reverse racism doesn't exist. If you don't have those systemic inequalities, then you can't claim that you're being oppressed. Simple as that.